All right, hi everyone. All right, wanted to show so as probably most of you know, we lost the legendary Grandmaster, world champion Boris Spassky, the 10th world champion. And yeah, so I figured okay, today could be a good day to um review some of his games, some of his highlights. And I do want to start off with the game he played against another former world champion, seventh world champion Vasily Smyslov. So, Spassky was having a good attack brewing, but how would you continue from here is the question. So it's a wide to move. So it's wide to move, guys. Uh, so Tantov got the right um first move. So in the game, White played the move Rook F4, which yeah, I remember this as the top engine move. Um we will take a look also at Knight of 1 and G4. Um in the game, White played Rook F4. Now Black took on G2 here. Of course, yeah, if you play here Knight G4, that's a pretty easy line for White. So yeah, Bishop takes G2. The question is, how do we follow up from here? So we got Knight G4, a few people. We got Queen F2. White actually played and we have Knight F5, which was suggested by a few people. We also have Queen C2. But yeah, Knight F5 was played in the game. It's the most natural attacking move, right? We're threatening Knight E7 followed by Rook H4. They're just the most active. So Black played Rook E8, right? Probably intending on sacking the exchange. And how would you continue the attack in this position? Okay, Wesley's correct. By the way, want to acknowledge Sanchoth for breaking national master. Uh, Congratulations to Santoth. I think that that's my first class since he broke master. So congratulations. Um, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, so 97 was suggested, Queen f2 was suggested. I think they're also decent move. There's like knight g7 suggested. Okay, interesting. Try to go here. White played rook e3, making a rook lift. Black played rook d8. And now white played here, because now the attack is just stronger with the rook lift. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, here, because here I think it's like rook g3, king f8, and I suspect both rook f6 with queen h6 and rook h4, they all work. Yeah, but in the game they played this here, and black resigned because yeah, if you play rook d2, you have rook g3, rook h4. All right, so now let's review some other suggestions you guys gave. Um, so yeah, I basically I started from this. By the way, we can now see the whole game, how it went. It was like one of these like rare bishop g5 Leningrad variations. Position was equal most of the way, but then white sort of outplayed black, had this huge center, and yeah, because of this huge center, white was better. Yeah, and here rook f4. Yeah, so yeah, rook f4 is actually a pretty important move. Like everything else is not so clear. And actually, if you wanted to keep the knight on f1, right, I tricked you because like the point is that white, if they wanted to play some other move, they could have gone knight g3, right? But once you commit to this move, you sort of have to see rook f4 because yeah, if you now go knight f1, it's kind of pointless, right? Because bishop takes g2, it's well, it's then you would have rather played knight g3 previous move, right? And if you play g4, it's quite interesting. But okay, maybe I can play g6, stopping knight f5, right? Maybe I can play queen g6. And it's not that clear, right? So definitely rook f4 was the best move in this position. So black played here. Now here knight g4 was a good alternative, right? So those of you who said knight g4, yeah, you get full credit. The other moves are not as easy, like queen here. Here it's like a little slower. So, you know, you do want to kind of go for mate right away with knight g4 trying to rook lift and maybe knight f6 or knight f5. And after this, yeah, rook e3 was the main thing that was mentioned. It's the most effective move, right? Getting the last piece into the attack. Hello, Ararat. And if we play knight e7, well, then I can sack the exchange, right? And our attack dissipates, you know, fades away, and yeah, that's actually 2 pawns for the exchange, right? This so white's not even up material. So you don't want to trade off such a great knight and such a great pawn for this passive rook, right? Just conceptually. So yeah, so rook e3 is the right idea. And then it's like a lot of moves win. Knight g7 is the best, but at this point many moves win. But this is like the most decisive and why won the game. All right, so let's now. So this was like at the start of his career when he was like ascending to the top. Now, Spassky did have a little bit of a setback. And he had this game. Wait 1 second. Let me try to Yeah. Yeah. So he had this game where he played against Mikhail Tal, right? And I think it was an interzonal or the candidate, something like this. And well, he has a winning position here. He has a pretty good attack, but he ended up his nerves maybe let him down, and he ended up spoiling it, right? And ended up not qualifying or something, and then he kind of like it set him back a little bit, but not forever, right? He was able to bounce back from that moment. So anyway, white to play. Let's try to. Well, I mean, if obviously if white wants a draw, it's very easy to. You just perpetual check. But, you can lose it if white tries to play for a win and does it incorrectly, right? So, like, it's definitely possible to lose this game if you kind of overplay your hand and play incorrectly. So, anyway, let's try to see if we can find a way for white to win this. It's not that easy because, obviously Spassky being a great player, he missed it. Um, So far, the answers where I'm getting are Queen H8, I'm getting Rook E8. Let's see, any other thoughts? There's like, okay, so now Santov has the right idea, yes. Yeah, Santov has the right idea. S San Santosh, yeah, Santosh, yeah. And Owen Xu got it. Okay, so we have also Queen H6. And we have G4. Yeah, so the right idea is to play G4. And it's to take away the F5 square. Because if you go here, okay, they go king back, right? And then, well, you can still find the G4 idea, right? But without it, you're not really making progress. And, well, white in the game did play Rook E8. Tempting move, right? Trying to go Queen H8 and Rook E5, but then they go Rook E6, right? And then they're escaping. And that's how white ended up, well, I mean, of course, he's not lost here, but he was still under the impression he was winning, and he's still trying to win. But black is defending. Black is barely defending this. And white is declining the draw. And at some point, white overpressed. And black actually ended up getting... Now white only has one move to draw with G4. So white played G3, and now black actually had a win with Queen A6. There must have been time pressure, so it's like heavy piece endgame and time pressure. You can imagine like it's hard to play because you have to calculate G4, King F4, Queen H6, King F3, Rook here, and King E4. And somehow you're escaping. But yeah, I mean that could be kind of challenging. So okay, so he played Rook here, which is still pretty good. F4, Rook E1. And now white has some drawing chances with Rook E8, but Queen E6, and apparently it's still much better for black. So white ended up playing here, but that ended up losing. So it's you could easily see white losing, right? If they decline the draw and they don't find the right way to win, then the black king actually becomes an asset, right? And Tal is a very resourceful, creative player. So I don't know what he missed. Maybe he just didn't see the win. Maybe he missed that king can go back to F6. I don't know. But anyway, he messed it up and he ended up losing this. Whereas the correct idea would have been to play G4. Well, by the way, if you go Queen H6, the rook is hanging, right? Oh no, or yeah, the rook is hanging. So that's the problem. So the idea of G4 is takes, and now you take away that 5 square, right? So you're trying to do the same kind of thing. They could try to go to Rook A6 though, with Rook A2. So maybe that's what he missed. But then somehow you can go King F3, King F4. And yeah, so you can imagine, I mean, it's hard to see it, right? And maybe at some point once he didn't see the win, maybe he should have just taken the draw. I don't know what the tournament context was, but either way, it was what it was. So Spassky had a setback in his career, right? But he did not let that bad moment define his career, right? And he kept fighting and he managed to bounce back. Um, and then he had this game against Fischer. Now, I assume most people know that they had this match of the century, Fischer and Spassky, where there was like a lot of drama, like where Fischer was threatening not to come at all, then he forfeited the game, right? He was down 2-0, but then he made this massive comeback and Fischer won the match. But most people don't know that leading up to that match, um, Spassky was kind of owning Fischer. He was like up three, and I think with no losses, something like that. And well, one of the wins that Spassky had over Fischer came from this Grunfeld. And yeah, in this position, White is better. Now White did miss a win at this moment. There must have been some time pressure. He ended up winning later anyway, a very nice endgame, but let's start off with this position where it's White to move, and what would you play as White? But try to go, beyond just one move. Try to like anticipate what opponent will play. I mean, even if the move is correct, I assume, Spassky did see the move, but there probably is more than you have to see more than just that one move. Okay. Okay, well, it looks like most people are getting it. Yeah, it's definitely knight h5. Yeah, that move was missed in the game for some reason. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly he missed. I actually have an idea. Maybe it was bishop e4 he thought. That might have been the counterplay that he was afraid of, right? Because of queen e4, there of course there's queen f2, queen f1, right? And if you take, I take here. And this endgame is not as clear. But there is this move queen e2. No, but I mean, yeah, this is quite a nice position, right? You're gonna take with the bishop. This is pretty clearly winning. There's also queen f7. Another testing move. Queen c3 check now is the only move. Queen f7 is the most resilient because you want to control that g7 square. So now king h7. If king g8, queen g3 wins more or less immediately. So king h7. And here, yeah, I mean, maybe this was not that clear, but there's queen g3 and queen h4, right? While white is a winning attack. So yeah, I mean, maybe it wasn't that obvious. I mean, knight h5, the move itself, I mean, I assume he saw, but maybe didn't see the follow-up. So he ended up playing queen d2, king g7, rook f1, and eventually, yeah, they transposed into this endgame. Now, as for this endgame, um, White is a bit better in this endgame because White has a bishop against the knight in an open position. And also the thing is like it's an unbalanced pawn structure, right? Black has a passed pawn and White has a potential passed pawn. Not to mention the knight on a5 could be restricted. So White is definitely the one playing for a win. Now, objectively, probably Black could hold this, but the onus is on a White to prove it. So bishop d5 is tempting, but bishop d5 I can go king f6, king e5. And we cannot really maintain this bind, right? And we don't have pieces to attack that knight. So while bishop d5 is tempting, it doesn't quite work because of king f6, king e5. So White instead plays the move h4, trying to fix the pawn on g6. Black played knight c4, king f2. Now here, um, now in this position, black had a way to get a draw. Like a fairly clear way to get a draw, I would say. So what would you do as black? Again, there might have been time pressure, so Fischer ended up missing that moment, and he ended up suffering after that. So again, if you're giving a one move answer, try to anticipate like what will opponent play, right? Because um you want to be in the habit of doing that. So you guys are all good players. Um, I think Wesley, your line is not that simple because that knight on a3 will be kind of um like my white king can just stop the pawn pretty. Okay, we'll look at it, but pretty sure the white king could just stop the pawns fairly easily. Um, in that line. So, some people said knight d6, some people play knight e5. Most people are wanting to play knight moves, which I guess makes sense. Okay, we have a5. A5 is a suggestion. Knight, okay, so we have all these knight moves. But so far, no one mentioned the move, which I guess, okay, looks like Owen found it. At least, yeah, found the first move. Um, so the move is g5, I think I just stayed, right? I think there's King h6. So the point of King h6, why is King h6 so strong? Because in that case, I'm gonna go King h5 and try to get counterplay. And if g4 is now met with knight e5, very strongly met with this move. Because then g5, we just go King h5, right? And now it's um well, actually, to be fair, maybe it's still a little tricky. No, but not really tricky because knight f7 and knight g5. And black can't really lose here. Um, I guess you could consider this move, but then g5 is, and then black gets counter. I mean, maybe this is what, but then the thing is you're tied down to this g4 pawn, and then the c3 pawn creates counterplay. So that wouldn't work so well. Um, yeah, and so what else could you do, right? I mean, if you go king f3, g5. So g5 is another idea, right? You're just trading off pawns. So king f6 is less accurate because, yeah, then king can come over, and then the king, you're not creating counterplay, right? Because g5 always like, oh, sorry, not here. I mean, like g5, I can always play h5. Um, yeah, so he had to find king h6. Like king h6 is a fairly clear draw because you're creating that counterplay, and you're also not declaring that knight. Now, knight d6 probably still draws, but here you're gonna have to suffer a bit. Now here, king f7 is somehow the only move to maintain a draw. Point 4, right? Which, yeah, I mean, it's not exactly easy. I don't even understand why king f7. So it's not that easy. And yeah, knight a3, then yeah, like I said, yeah, the king just attacks the knight. The pawn is never going anywhere, right? So it's a bit of a problematic position. Okay, well, Fischer played 95, but the problem is now king e3, king f4 is coming, right? Um, so king e3, king here, king f4. Now black played knight f7. Now here, Spassky played inaccurately. So what would you do as white here? It's actually a pretty interesting endgame, like with some nuances. With white to move. Yeah. Well, some people saying G4. So G4, I think G5 is like kind of drawish because then it's like a little bit of a blockade on the dark squares. It's going to be also it helps me trade off pawns, right? You don't want to let me trade off the pawns because it's going to be less chances to win. If you go bishop d5, I can probably go back and there's going to be counterplay. And then yeah, you can go king e4, but maybe knight g4 there's a little bit of counterplay. So it's actually the most accurate is to go bishop d3 because the difference is that after here you go like that, and then you kind of like it's a bit more harmonious. You're kind of taking away counterplay. I mean, honestly, I think it's hard to figure out the difference between bishop d5 and bishop d3, but at the end of the day, like what you're aiming for is like you want to get this position. Now it seems like okay, you don't really want to allow g5 because yeah. But here the thing is the knight is a little bit stuck. Black is kind of in a zugzwang, right? And after something like this, you're just going to transpose to winning pawn endgame. You get the similar thing with bishop d5 if they play g5. If they play g5, which they will not, right? They might not. Because if they play here, then they have some knight g4 counterplay. Which to be and somehow something like this, which to be honest, it's not that obvious. So I think bishop d5 is very understandable. Um, Bishop d3 technically is the most accurate. Because yeah, then after 95 you have this move, which is better version. And after this is winning. And after say here, I invade. And then I'm gonna win this pawn, and white is winning this position. Um White instead played king e3 and black played g5 anyway, but now white of course played h5, right? That was their idea. They didn't want to trade pawns. But black probably rushed with g5, right? They probably could have gone back. And then white would have to prove the winning plan here. Or maybe even knight d6. It's not as easy. Instead, we had this, and now it's a principle of many weaknesses, right? You have to worry about this passed pawn. You have to worry about this pawn becoming weak and the a7 pawn. So, and the bishop is just very good guarding past pawns, right? So white ended up being winning in this endgame. The game concluded in the following manner. White finally got in, and yeah, king a6, king a, bishop a2, king a7. Yeah, white was winning. All right, so that was this game. Now there's another game. Now Spassky was like one of these people who was considered like universal player. He was um a very good technical player, very good positional player, could play e4 and d4, and he also was a very good attacking player. And in the World Championship match, he won a very nice game against Petrosian, the ninth world champion, in a sharp knight off, which black misplayed a bit. So this was a knight off. Bishop c4, queen a5, queen d2, h6. I think h6 is a bit slow. White has like a big lead in development now. I don't know the theory too well, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, white had got a very good position here. The rook e8, and now here white found a nice way to continue this. So what would you recommend as white? So the thing with e5 is that if I play e5, takes 6, maybe there's knight g4, and then there's like bishop g5 ideas. Sorry. Sorry, I did some spacebar thing. Yeah. So white first played king b1, right? I think it makes king b1 makes sense. And after this move, wait, what did I just do? Oh, I turned off on the engine somehow automatically. Yeah, and here you could play e5, but white chose to play g4, right? Really nice attacking game. Knight takes, queen g2, knight f6, rook g1, right? Sacking the pawn for attack. Um, and like, okay, here there's sort of many ways to do it. But yeah, he chose a very forcing way. e5, knight e4, clearance sacrifice. Knight h5, because yeah, knight f6 is coming otherwise. If knight e4, rook f8, knight here, queen g6, and knight g5, and black resigned. So very nice miniature win by Petrosian. Speaking of miniature wins, here's another one. He played against Bent Larsen. Bent Larsen was obviously also really strong. Yeah, I think we all dream of playing games like that. Yeah. So this is a game he played against Bent Larsen. And this game might have been a downfall of Bent Larsen's career. He might have like started losing some confidence after that game. Before that, he was an uncompromising player, but he lost 6-0 to Fischer. So he was like, at some point, he was like the best of the West, though. He was like arguably even better than Fischer. Like he played board one and like the world against Soviet in like 1970, I think it was. And Bet Larsen played the Larsen opening, of course, yeah. 1b3. e5, bishop b2. And white reacted really well. Sorry, black reacted very well. c4, knight f6, knight f3, e4, knight here, bishop c5, right? Just getting some space and playing for the initiative. Trades, trades. Already it's a nice position for black, right? Bishop f5, preventing any kind of d4, d3. Queen here, queen e7, bishop e2, castle's long. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think we all would. f4. And now, yeah, black starts going for it. Knight g4. White played g3. And of course, h5. What else? Right? Um, White played h3. No, bishop takes e3. Well, bishop takes e3, isn't there bishop takes here? Or am I missing something? Yeah, I'm honestly not even sure about this position. Yeah, I'm not even sure about this position. No, you don't have to apologize for making a suggestion, Ian. That's how we learn, right? We have to be willing to make the mistakes in training because that's how we get better, right? We explore the position like that. So don't ever apologize if you suggest the wrong answer. Okay, anyways, so h5, h3. And yeah, and here, what do you think Black should play? Yeah, it is a classic and looks like one person already knows it. Some people might know this game. It's pretty famous game. Okay, some people already giving me the right answer. Yeah, it's a classic. Yeah, h4. So it's following the Schenklin rule, actually, yeah, because h3 seems that we have to go back. Seems like they prevented us from going h4, but we ask ourselves, can we do our idea anyway, the Schenklin rule? And we could, of course. And here, to be fair, many moves win, but yeah, the way he did it's like quite nice. Yeah, if rook g1, queen h4, queen h1 still wins, so yeah, white resigned. Because bishop takes, bishop g4, queen e1, right? It's mate. So yeah, Spassky won games like that as well. Yeah, for sure. He also won some nice games against Fischer. Like this was in the Grunfeld. I think the one I'll show you guys is let's see, this one was okay, this was the famous. Yeah, the one I'll show you is the one against the last game actually they played against Fischer. This one I actually like the most. This was actually played in the 20-year in the match 20 years after their like world championship match, right? So at this point, Spassky is already like over the hill, right? And of course Fischer is as well. Fischer did win this match. This was kind of like a revenge match or something like that, right? It was organized yeah, and in Yugoslavia. And yeah, so anyway, so this game I really liked. A very nice technical win by Spassky. Fischer tried to play a little bit of an unorthodox opening, but he got smoked. Um, because White had like tons of space. So Black played bishop g4, White played h3, takes, knight d7, queen d1, e6 castles, takes, knight e8, bishop d2, knight e5, bishop e2, f5, f4, knight f7. Here White played g4, trying to get more space on the king side. Like, it looks dangerous, but Black is in no position to really get any attack going here. Their pieces are very passive. It goes knight h6. White just improves. Knight c7, g5. Knight f7. Rook b1, rook e8. Bishop d3. Just maneuvering. Rook b8, h4, a6. Queen c2, b5. So yeah, so here I guess we have to, Black is asking questions in the center, so we have to kind of uh answer it. So what would you do as White here? That's a pretty important strategical question, I would say. So it's good that I asked because yeah, most people actually are giving a different answer than what Spassky played. So I believe the simplest move here. Now I didn't check the engine with the engine so carefully, but I think B3 is honestly the simplest move, right? Because the point is you want to just be able to take back with the pawn, right? Like maintaining the structure, right? Not giving them a lot of counterplay. I feel like other moves are actually giving a good amount of counterplay. Now Engine is not saying it's like so much better than others, right? But in my opinion, it's the simplest. You could go here, but then the position is harder to play because then I can play knight b5, knight d4, the knight gets active, and then you have to be very, very precise, right? So while it's maybe objectively not as bad, I do think b3 is like much simpler because I don't think you want to allow any kind of stuff. And here you even allow knight d5, right? If you play knight d2. Knight d1 is a similar thing, right? Like you're allowing a lot of counterplay, like knight a8, knight b6, stuff like that. Um, so also some people suggested b4. Um, if you play b4, takes, yeah, we kind of lose a pawn, right? So yeah, so I think b3 is the simplest way. And then white won a very nice technical win. So it went rook b7. And black, I guess, had to play h5. But even h5, like now we can go here and maybe potentially sacrifice. I mean, I think this position is very dangerous for black anyway. So black, understandably, didn't want to do that. But yeah, once you don't do that, white's sort of winning. Now bishop c1 was a nice prophylaxis to make sure you can take back with the pawn. Like there's no rook b2. And now white just slowly maneuvers, right? Like could improve the position. H5, h6 is kind of interesting, making sure the bishop is kind of dead forever. And now white just happily trades off all the pieces, right? Because basically in this position, black is helpless, right? They have no counterplay. And white has a simple plan of bringing their king into like a4, a5, and stuff like that. So bishop here. And now, okay, the engine says knight f5 is best, but honestly, it's not necessary in my opinion because black can't really do much against a simple plan of bringing the king to a4. And, black is passive. Yeah, sure, you can go knight h8. Yeah, but that move, as some people would say, speaks for itself. Yeah, white brings the king to here, and white is winning. Okay, so yeah, you played here. Again, there's just no reason to complicate things when you can win games schematically, right? Like, and even here, like you could win with knight f5, but it's not even that necessary because white can win kind of more in a more simple way. Um, yeah, white can win in a very simple way. And okay, the only thing is like at the very end, what's instructive is again, even with this bishop g6, he doesn't hurry, right? Because then there's like knight f7. And it's not that easy actually, right? So he first improves the position to the maximum even here with the move bishop f6. And after knight c7, then we have this, and bishop takes d8, right? And white just wins this game. So it's a very nice, smooth positional game over Fischer that Spassky played. And, Spassky might have been old, but he had like a great understanding, right? And this game was actually the game that Spassky played. He was already quite old, um, but he played a nice game, right? Really nice game, even though he was like way past his prime. He still had a pretty high FIDE rating, 2565. And yeah, he's playing against some Andrea Gilles. So yeah, Spassky is black. It was a normal kind of Queen's Bogo Indian. Spassky is playing like very simple chess, but even when you play kind of like a boring scheme, you can still create like good attacking chances. So they got a Carlsbad structure. Now in the Carlsbad structure, usually what happens is black wants to attack on the king's side and white wants to do minority attacks stuff on the queen's side. Yeah, the lesson is like dedicated to Spassky, yes, because we lost the legend. Yeah. Um. Okay, so c6, knight g3, rook e8, queen c5. Yeah, black wants to keep queens on the board, of course, because black is the one with the attacking chances, right? So black is not interested in trading queens. Knight d2, and now black starts, kind of getting some play there, like knight h4. White starts getting something going as well. Black plays a6, a4, bishop d7, kind of putting white's plan on hold a little bit. Rook b1. And now black starts their counterplay. Knight h4, knight g4 already looks pretty menacing. Okay, white played queen c2, black played g6, white played b5, takes, h5, right? So, and that's kind of the next plan, right? You put the knights in there, then you try to play for h5, and yeah, we'll see. This attack actually ends up, being quite successful. Like white doesn't really get that much besides like pressure on c6, but he does have to kind of worry about the king a little bit. So he took and played rook e1, queen f6, knight f1. I mean, it seems like white's very solid, right? But it's not that easy. So knight f1, rook a3. Okay, starting to, make some threats, right? Rook d3, for example. Now the black rook is like asking some questions. You can see that white is kind of being pushed back. Like Spassky is someone who really valued piece activity. Played rook e2. Right, kind of makes sense. And yeah, here black played a pretty strong move at this point. So what would you play as black here? And again, this was Spassky way past his prime when he was already much older, like in his 60s. So still very sharp, or still, you know, showed his universal skills. Hmm. Your idea, Wesley, is pretty interesting. I think if you do that, if you go knight h6, I'm guessing I can probably go knight d2. Try to prevent your bishop h3 stuff. Rook e8 and bishop c8. Yeah, maybe that's also decent. But he played something else, and that something else is quite challenging, I would say. Knight g2, king g2, h4. Okay, I'm interested to check that with engine. Ah, okay. Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, it's very good. By the way, knight h6, for what it's worth, is also good. Yeah, so no, there are alternative solutions here for sure. Yeah, this is actually very interesting. Takes here. And I guess you could go here, but then knight goes back, and yeah, there's a pretty strong attack, the bishop h3, yeah, so yeah, quite creative idea, actually. Very nice, Richardson. But yeah, black just played c5. I think c5 is a nice move, right? You just wanna, well, what, yeah, actually, they took on c5, which was a mistake. I mean, here the defense already is not that easy, I would say. White took on c5, and now black played knight e5, bishop b5. Yeah, and this is where, Spassky played his like star move. So let's see if anyone could spot his idea. All right, that's Sai got it. Oh, not that easy. All right, Andrew got it. Andrew J. Um, yeah. All right, a lot of people gave answers, but there's one and only Queen F3. Imagine getting to, play a move like that in their game. I feel like this game is one of the more beautiful ones, right? Because it's kind of so unexpected. Like it seems like White has things sort of in control, but then boom, just like out of nowhere, you finish with this quiet move, and there's just literally no defense to mate. Yeah, it's quite an insane move, Queen F3. A very creative move. No, the guy was a beast, legend. At 60 something years old, he played such a move. By the way, bishop h3, the problem is f4. Suddenly we're losing, right? So we gotta make sure we consider opponent's ideas. Knight ef3 is good too, but king f1, it's not that clear. Rook c3, some people suggested, but okay, then queen of a4. It's not so clear. Could he beat me at classical at 60? He definitely could. I mean, if I had to play him at that time, I don't know what would happen. I mean, if let's say I played him when I was at my peak, 2600 FIDE, and he was like at this age, I mean, I guess it would be, kind of like a 50-50 game at that point, but um I don't know. I would try to play a longer game and try to wear him out and try to um, usually against older players, my strategy is to try to not let them outplay me because they have good understanding, good class, and try to play a 4 or 5 hour game because they often would get tired and make a mistake. That would be normally my strategy. Um, but okay, yeah. But of course, yeah, I could see him being able to outplay me because he would definitely have a better understanding than I would of chess. So yeah, no, this was Ivanov is good at yeah, well Ivanov also has a very good class, very good chess understanding. So he's been around for a long time. So he has a Soviet GM, a Russian GM, so he has good class. Um so yeah, so yeah, 95 is quite nice. Um yeah, I mean we have time for a few more games, maybe one more game. To take a look. Also he had this game against Bronstein. Yeah, that's like also a pretty famous classic he had in the King's Gambit. He was like he was a little bit like Nepomniachtchi, right? Like Jan Nepomniachtchi, he liked to play King's Gambit. It was very universal. Um, kind of carefree attitude at times. So he had this game against Bronstein, right? Like a really nice attacking game. It wasn't 100% sound, but it was aesthetically beautiful. So now he wants to go queen d3, of course. And okay, like most normal people would just play queen takes e2, right? And they're just much better. But Spassky ignores the rook on f1, plays knight d6, and now they can take with check. Now, objectively, it seems like the engine holds it, but only after very precise moves, which is easier said than done, right? And you have to calculate all this stuff, and then you have 95 at the end. So, and even after that, like the attack continues, but okay, it's apparently it's equal. But black had to do that because the alternative was worse, right? And then there's knight f7 takes here, queen f4, and then there's just a winning attack because he's only down an exchange, and yeah, look at his pieces, right? Just completely crushing. So yeah, that was a pretty nice game. He also had this game against Rashkovsky. He was very good at like beating the Sicilian, I would say. Um, so yeah, it was neither bishop d5. Yeah, he was a very principled player, played principal lines. Um, Yeah, he just like centralized his pieces and just like played for attack, right? And yeah, played very direct chess. Yeah, black took here, but white again played very creatively into in between move. Like everything's hanging, and he just like plays a quiet move, right? Queen g4, knight d1, knight e6, queen c6, and that was a blunder. He had to play here, here, queen b6 only move, king d8, and apparently this is okay for black, but again, looks super, super, super scary. Um, So, understandably, yeah, when you're under such pressure, such enormous pressure, people crack, right? So he played queen c6, and already this is lost. So he was a little bit like Tal, right? He would make sacrifices which were maybe not 100% sound, but he was never worse than those, right? Like, and even if it's equal, right, it's very hard to play on like, 4 or 5 only engine moves, right? And play a little bit wrong at one moment and you're done. Um, And yeah, this game against Fischer was he did lose this match, by the way, but in this match, when he was already kind of trailing, he ended up still um pulling one out. Um, sacked up one for initiative and kind of set his last hurrah in this match. Again, that's like objectively equal, but hard for black to play this. He played d5, 97. Slightly wrong move order, right? He should have played 97 first. 97, d5. But he played d5 first. 97. Knight f5, queen d3. h4. Okay, oops, knight g3 is a threat. So yeah, you have to be a bit careful there. But yeah, Spassky was under control. Bishop g4. Knight d2. And the queen's very vulnerable. c5, queen b5. Queen c3. Very important. Because then you're threatening a4 and the queen has no squares. So he lost the queen, and with that, he lost the game. So this was in a match where Fischer was absolutely dominant. He won overall. Fischer won the match in a very convincing manner. But even in that match, Spassky still showed his teeth and played some really nice games. So yeah, as you could see, he was a very universal player. He could play many different types of styles, types of positions. He's very principled, like, liked active pieces. He could play a good positional game and then like transform it into attack. Great legend, so we lost the um, really uh top player, world champion. May he rest in peace. Um, all right. Let everyone chat now, and hope you guys enjoyed this class on Mr. Spassky. Uh, See you all later this month. All right. Take care, everyone.